Hello there, and welcome to, I guess my second attempt at, October the 28th. Yes, Dr. T, stage 1, going over to the right-hand side, yada yada yada, there's things. Um, Honestly, I'm going through the motions because right now, like, according to the game, the countdown in the shadow says I'm 7 hours away from the Mega Crab, or as I like to call it, the Spooky Crab, because loot. I can't help myself. I am just excited and looking forward to doing some crabby things. I don't know. Okay, so where do I even begin? It turns out that the chicken who challenged me to, doing some AZ on levels 23, 24, and 25, and, issued a bit of a challenge, is living up to his name and chickening out. Oh. No, I can't give him a hard time. Basically, there's a bunch of YouTubers that are all getting together and they're all doing a challenge, and they invited the chicken and myself. So the two different challenges, in all likelihood, would probably conflict with each other. So I have graciously allowed the chicken to withdraw his competition, and, I'm just going with the flow. But, I'm just saying, one of us was down for doing it, and then the other one of us was like, oh no, I'm scared, I can't do this. Sorry, something was stuck in my throat. Let's just say I'm not going to be doing a video where I balk every 30 seconds now. Oh, alright, let's get to what really matters, and that is, of course, what's happening with the different things and adjusting my chair, which is apparently being incredibly difficult, and the fact that I accidentally live streamed my first take at the commentary. Yeah, apparently when there's two buttons and one says start stream and the one says start record, I'm not so making good with the reading, happening. Now, Stage 4 has shock launchers flanking the HQ. Both of those gotta go. They both have a fairly decent amount of hit points, so excuse me, you're gonna honestly, this is a GBE check. You gotta make sure you got the GBE to pull this off. There's also a whole bunch of these crazy boom mines all over the place, and you've got to blow those up too, because if you've got lower level tanks, like if you're rolling through in the level range where, 4 is a challenge, those boom mines are going to shred your tanks. So take out, the boom mines with whatever means you can. If you've got critters, which you probably won't, throw those out. If you, save a barrage, try to hit as many as possible with the barrage. I would suggest using barrage more on the shock launchers, and then save, the artillery for taking out those mines. But hey, whatever, it works easiest for you. And then by the time you work your way down into the bottom corner there, you can take out the HQ and not really have any kind of problem. Nothing serious is going to be shooting at you. And most importantly, you can get your loot and move on to Stage 5. Now here's the killer. 4 is kind of like this GBE. It's not incredibly hard. It's actually pretty easy, I think, if you can get over that GBE mountain. Stage 5 is kind of along the same route. If you look down here, there is just a sea of machine guns and flamethrowers that all your tanks can just blow the poop out of, and you can build up a buttload of GBE, which is good because when you get a little further on into the attack, you run into this wall of sniper towers and whatnot, and you're going to need that GBE to either blow those up or shock them. There is a boom cannon that's right next to the HQ, which I've obviously blown up, but if you don't have the GBE to just straight up blow that bad boy up, your best bet is to leave it there, shoot at all these other things, and build up your GBE, and then start throwing shocks on it as your troops get into range and you start being able to get shot by it. Because what you can do is actually take out a bunch of the sniper towers at the same time, which really, in the grand scheme of things, is probably a good thing, because those sniper towers, there's enough of them added up, and they do have a pretty hefty boost on them, and if you've got the lower level tanks, you're going to have to be afraid of them. Well, maybe not, you don't have to be afraid of, but you probably should be afraid of them, because they could do pretty bad things to your tanks, and you don't want that. It's just, it's not our bag, baby. Not our bag. So, from the bottom left-hand corner, or the southwest, or whatever you want to call it, let your tanks move up towards the HQ. They're obviously going to walk into this area of contention. I think that's, yeah, that we were talking about. And then just do whatever kind of fits your mood, and fits your tanks, and fits what's happening in your attack here. Blow things up. Everything's really nicely packed together tightly here, so if you've got extra GBE and your barrage is low, or your artillery is low, you could fire off a few rounds, not necessarily to take anything out, but just to soften it up and help your tanks move through a little bit quicker. And then once you finally get everything all figured out, go over to the left-hand side, pretty much where the health statue is, set up shop, blow things up, kaplow, 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 and, you know, get your win. Seems pretty straightforward, seems pretty easy. So, yes, I know I kind of mentioned the new challenge that a bunch of people are going to be involved in. It sounds like Bull Cable is going to be involved, Cosmic Duo, the Chicken, obviously, Mac, myself, all of the things are happening. Quite a number of YouTubers are kind of all involved, and the challenge is to make it as far into the Mega Crab with 3 attacks. So that doesn't mean like attack stage 1, 2, and 3. That means attack until you don't defeat a base, and then, you know, have to use your attacks. So if you attack for 3 hours and you actually get an extra attack, you still only get 3 attacks. You don't get to add like that 4th one in to be like, haha, this is how far I made it. You only count the first 3. But it should be interesting to see, because, you know, the Chicken had agreed to kind of bring his troops down to my level, save some, you know, don't boost some things, so that we could try to kind of balance it out. But I think that's out the door with this new challenge. So I may be, you know, a bit of an underdog going in here. I don't think I have the same fancy statues as everyone else, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, with stage 6, pretty straightforward. We're going up the middle. It is kind of like stage 4, where you're gonna have to be pretty, I guess, GBE friendly. It's kind of another one of those tests, because there's 2 boom cannons and shock launchers that need to get blown up and all the things, and then you're gonna have to kind of redirect everything, and you want to go right up the middle, pretty much right where my tanks are right here. And obviously, if you take out the really important, scary things, you know, there's shock launchers further to the left that you don't have to worry about, because you're not going to go that close to them. There is a monster of a boom cannon over there on the right. You can see it in the top right-hand corner. It has 37,000 hit points, give or take. And just like, it would fry any tank given the chance. You know, you give that thing 10 seconds with a tank one-on-one, and you are not going to have a tank anymore. Let's put it that way. It is a high enough level that it's going to do some horrible, horrible things. Excuse me. Now, if you go up through the middle, on the left-hand side, you'll see there are a bunch of sniper towers and a cannon and some extra things. I would suggest taking those out, just because it'll make life a little easier on your tanks. if, you know, that cannon doesn't exist, it's going to do a lot less damage. Yeah, I kind of let it chill because I was like, I don't know, but honestly, just flare onto it, let your tanks blow it up, then flare back to where my tanks are there, and they'll blow up the HQ and everybody will live happily ever after, and you won't have to start throwing down medkits and flaring around late in the attack and doing silly things like some people who shall go unnamed. Yes, indubitably. Alright, now, Stage 7 is, you know, honestly, I think Stage 7 is pretty easy. It is going to be tough with the GBE, but if you're really careful with it, I think you can kind of maximize sort of where you're going here. So land everything on the right hand side. There is this rocket launcher that's kind of out on its own. You can see it right there. My tanks are heading towards it. Let your tanks blow that rocket launcher up. Just the rocket launcher. Don't let them dig into all the mortars and stuff. Keep them away from the shock launcher and whatnot, and then flare them up into the top right hand corner. And the big reason that I did this is because if you don't take out that rocket launcher, it is going to be in behind your troops, which is where your medics are, and it's going to be shooting at your medics non-stop and doing horribly, horribly bad things. And you can't afford that, because if your medics start taking the hits from the rocket launcher, they're not going to heal your tanks. If they're not healing your tanks, then your tanks are going to start to die, and, you know, everything kind of cascades and goes downhill from there. So after you take out the rocket launcher and you kind of curve around, you just want to go along the top there and take out defenses as you come across them. You're going to build up a mountain of GBE, which is fantastic because you're going to use that to blow up shock launchers, kind of like that one there. I'm blowing up this shock launcher here, as you can see. But if you find yourself low on GBE, because you've got lower level artillery and barrage, you can't take out as many buildings with just pure brute force blow them up artillery raw. Well, throw shock on that shock launcher that's, I guess, to the... well, it's still kind of south, but southeast of the HQ. In between almost the HQ and where my tanks are here. It's kind of like right there. Blow up the other one that's further south. You're going to have to do that. Like, it's going to have to go. And to get down there with your tanks is going to be really, really costly. So if you can blow it up with GBE, that is much, much more preferred. And then throw the shocks on this one, and your tanks will eventually work their way in there. And honestly, if you're throwing shocks, you're going to be taking out a bunch of defenses, and it's going to help your poor medics out anyways. And then ultimately, when you're all done, you're going to want to go into that top corner to the northeast of the HQ. I kind of let my tanks drift down and take out a few extra defenses and whatnot. There's really no need for that. You don't have to do it. I did it because there was no harm in it. But if you're kind of like tight and you're a little worried, go up to where I am right here. You'll have a few rocket launchers shooting at your guys, but you should have no problems. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's been entertaining. And most importantly, hopefully you guys have a fantastic day.